there's this quote that I might get it a little bit wrong here, but a photograph is a secret of a secret, and the more it tells you, the less you know.
This is a story about when I was really emotionally moved and changed when I went to the Metropolitan Museum of Art. When I'm standing here, I'm in the middle of Namibia, somewhere deep in the wild. You see all these nice people behind me. We're actually doing a workshop event here. We do these photo adventures maybe once or twice a year, and it's actually cold here. You can see how warm I am here, but they're all by the fire. So after I tell this little story, I'm going to go over there by the fire and join them, and we're all going to take photos together. But as far as this story goes, the first time I started learning about art is when I was, younger, probably like a teenager. And, here I am standing here. I'm a photographer, obviously, but I actually am more influenced by painting than I am by photography. Yes, there's amazing photographers out there that take incredible photos, and I've seen so many things that are just unbelievable. But really, I think the core of it is back in impressionist painting. And I've always wondered why that is, and I kind of re-examined, why am I so moved by paintings more than photography? And it probably goes back to my dad. This is another story, really. I went to the Musée d'Orsay in Paris with my dad. I was much younger, and I was probably my late teens, I guess. And I grew up in Texas, which doesn't really have a lot of art or anything. I didn't really do much of that as a kid. So my dad took me to this museum in Paris, and it has all this incredible art in it, and my dad is walking around showing me these things, and I'm like, that's great, Dad, but where's the cowboy and Indian paintings? Why don't they have any of those? That's what I was used to. He's like, son, they don't have cowboy and Indian paintings here in Paris. And so he showed me all this awesome stuff, but it didn't really click with me. But I had the sense that there was another world that I could not yet see, that he could see something that I couldn't see. It didn't make me sad or anything. It just made me kind of confused. How can he see something that I can't? Is my dad crazy? He's clearly not crazy. He sees something. Why can't I see it? And, when you're younger or whatever, you're just thinking about let's go have some French pastries, or let's just go goof around, and you're just not into art. But I could see there was something else there. So fast forward many, many years later, probably just 4 years ago, maybe 3 years ago, it doesn't matter, it's the past. So I was in New York, and I had always wanted to go to see the Metropolitan Museum of Art. And because by this point, I had actually really started to appreciate Impressionist art. All the greats, from Manet to Monet to Renoir, Caillebotte, Degas, you name it. I'm into all of them. And I actually read about them a lot. I look at their paintings and study them very, very deeply. And so one of my own personal side goals, I have these little quests, like in World of Warcraft, I have all these little mini quests where I'm trying to see every possible Impressionist painting I can when I visit cities. And so I'm like, okay, I'm in New York, I'm going to go to the Metropolitan, I'm going to see as many Impressionist paintings as they have. And I'm alone, and I like to listen to music a lot. When I'm alone, I'm always listening to music. So I put on my earphones and I wander into the Met. I go find the Impressionist section. I'm listening to weird music, and I'm looking at these paintings. And I like all of them, of course. There's things that I admire about so many of these different paintings and painters. But my favorite is Pierre-Auguste Renoir. I don't know why. Because he actually paints a lot of people and stuff like this. And I do take people photos, but I wouldn't say it's my mainstay. But he does really strange things with light that are completely elusive to me. So I'm walking around the Met, I'm by myself, I'm listening to music, there's people walking around, it's New York, it's sort of that high energy city vibe, which I'm sensitive to being an introvert. It's very electric, and I can kind of sense it. So I'm listening to music, I'm in my own space, and I'm looking at the different paintings, and I came across this one. I won't tell you which one it is. And I go to a lot of museums, but this has never happened to me. But I actually was listening to music. Maybe it was the song, maybe it was whatever, but I totally lost it. I was completely like bawling right there in front of this painting. And I thought, well, what's wrong with me? I mean, how does this I kind of feel like normally an emotionally stable person. How can you look at a painting and cry? But then I think, well, wouldn't he have loved it if like as many people let cry as possible in front of his painting? But there was something that he did with the light that I didn't quite understand, but it was so lovely and so gentle, and I saw a gentle truth there. And I thought, well, I'm not a painter. How can I do this kind of stuff in my photo? How can I move people? How can I make them look at it in a second and remember it forever? How can I look at it in a second and remember it forever? What's happening? It's so elusive and so magical. So I had my little moment or whatever, and then I got myself together. And then I was actually I was at a hotel sort of in Midtown, which was pretty far away. And I could have taken a taxi or whatever. I don't know if you know where the Metropolitan Museum of Art is, but it's actually kind of inside Central Park. It's one of the only things inside Central Park. And I thought, well, I'm just going to walk home. I'm going to walk through the park and listen to music. And I had my camera. I always have my camera. Maybe I'll see something interesting. So I'm kind of meandering home. I don't really have a path. I kind of know which way south is. And I am looking at the lights. I'm looking at the trees. It's autumn. Really interesting colors. And I go over this path, over this bridge, and then I look down, and I see this amazing light. And of course it was always there, but I had never seen it. And maybe it was because I was having this emotional moment or something, but for that one moment, I saw light and color for what it was. And it totally moved me. I had a soft moment. And I even forgot that I had my camera. I was like, oh, what's the luck? I have my camera with me. So I set up, and I took this photo, and it had pathways, it had light, it had color, it had feeling, it had meaning. And I can't exactly explain what I did or what I saw, but I do feel like I actually captured it. I don't always capture exactly what I want, but in that case, I did. And I find the truth of light to be an elusive thing. I always look for it. And I think back to when my dad took me there, and he saw this secret world that I didn't see. And here I am, I guess older. Maybe I'm close to my dad's age, and then it's weird to think about these things. But maybe now I'm seeing more of this secret world, and I wouldn't have it any other way. I think it's wonderful. So my next stop here is we're here in this amazing lodge, and this is my favorite time of night to shoot, when there's just a little bit of ambient light in the sky, and there's a lot of artificial light. It's even better if that artificial light is like fire or torches or candles or this sort of thing. The more organic, the more awesome it is. But otherwise, just warm lights do the job. So we're going to run around and take some photos inside of here and see if we can capture the essence and the light of this place. It's something I always try to do, and we'll just give it our best shot to see if it happens here as well. Hello and welcome to my computer. I wanted to do a little bit here. We're going to try something a little different here. We're going to do some night photography. Here's one of those photos that I took right there, actually right after I shot that little live action piece. I just kind of spun around and took this photo. I like how people are kind of in motion. They kind of feel like maybe a bit like an impressionist painting, how they're moving around, brush strokes here and there. Some stars in the sky and the motion of the fire and the warmth, the coolness of the sky. I like this photo. But now we're going to do something completely different. Okay, we're going to do something very risky. We're going to try to make this photo look awesome. So I slept on the roof one night, and it was absolutely gorgeous, looking out at the sky. And, of course, it seems a little bit obvious to say I was channeling a little Van Gogh Starry Night, but I want to try to make something here out of this, okay? So this is sort of our starting photo. So how did I shoot this? Well, this is a long exposure. It's 15,000 seconds, which is something like 4 or 5 hours. I don't know. but I shot it at 13 millimeter f6.3 ISO 64. All right, I kind of came to this through experimentation and whatnot. Actually, this is all my camera could go before my battery died. And if you aim the camera south and you're in the southern hemisphere, then you get this nice sort of spiral situation. So what I want to do is try to make this photo look better. Okay, there's a lot of problems with this photo. Let me zoom in and show you in particular some of these problems. So when I zoom in, you can see all these little noise things popping around. Okay, you can see how a lot of the stars make a nice pattern, but there's a lot of red blips and blue blips and purple blips and just nonsense around. Okay, so we're going to do some serious post-processing to this thing to make it look more awesome. Okay, so let's start out with a little bit of noise reduction here and there. That helps quite a bit already. I can see it. One great thing to do with night photos is to increase the contrast. Okay, you can kind of see how this makes it just more inky black. See how blown out the bottom is, by the way? Let's just go ahead and address that right away. So let's pick the gradient. I'm going to slide the gradient up here like this, and then just drop down the exposure a bit. Okay, it's not so hot. It's a little too hot coming off that bottom like that. Okay, let's get those highlights down a little bit. Yeah, it's looking a little bit better right there. Nice. Okay, so let's close that. Now let's play with the highlights. We'll increase the highlights a little bit, drop down the shadows, whites and blacks. See what clarity does here. Not too bad, do a little bit of clarity there, a little bit of vibrance. Now here is one of my favorite things to do with a night photo, and that is to change the white balance. Okay, so right here white balance as shot, but you can just try different things. Like if I go over to cloudy, it makes it look like that, or daylight, it goes in this direction. Go to tungsten, it'll move it more into the blue area. Weird, huh? I'm going to take it back to as shot and just kind of manually do it. Okay, so I'll manually pull down the tint a little bit just to kind of blue it up a little bit. I like a nice blue sky at night, don't you? Look at that. Look how much that contrast changes it as you go from low contrast to high contrast. I love it. Okay, good. So this is coming along. Maybe let's make a little bit of an S-curve here. Pull that down, pull that up. Oh yeah, looking good, looking good. Very nice. Let's play with the blue here a little bit in the hue. Maybe move it a little bit into the purple. It's kind of nice, isn't it? Maybe a little bit more saturation, not much. And then luminance, I don't know. Let's brighten it up a little bit. Let's get those stars brighter. All right, coming along. You can see there's still a lot of noise and junk in the photo, okay? So we're gonna do something super sneaky and super cool, all right? I feel like the edges might be a little bit dark. Let me go over here to manual and change the lens vignetting here just to kind of brighten up that edge a little bit like this. There we go. You can see when it's down like this, it's pretty dark, but as I move it up here, the edges get a little bit brighter. Okay, so I'm going to right click on this and say edit in Photoshop. Okay, now while that's going on, let me just look here at, I took a few other exposures. Okay, these are very quick exposures, so the bottom was not too dark. All right, so let me just go ahead and make one of these look kind of decent. We're only looking at the bottom part here. Okay, let's increase the shadows a little bit, increase the blacks. Let's just increase the overall exposure here. Okay, get those highlights down a little bit. There we go, that's kind of nice. Not too shabby. Let's warm it up here. So maybe we have a warm bottom and a cool top. All right, that looks good. So I'm gonna go ahead and, I'm just gonna export this as an idea. Okay, so this will go into our processing folder. And my loose thought is that we kind of use this as the bottom and then we use the star trail on top. Not sure yet, just a working theory. Just kind of playing with ideas right now. This is our little world, our happy little universe. Okay, so here we are in Photoshop, okay? I'm gonna show you a trick here for star trail photos to help you get rid of all these noise and make the star trails look more awesomer. Even though it's not a word, but it should count for this kind of a photo. So this is what we're going to do. Okay, I'm going to duplicate the layer. All right. And now we're going to do something called make this a smart object. Okay, what does that mean? What does that mean? Well, we're going to convert to smart object right here. Okay, a smart object is going to allow us to do something pretty cool when it comes to making these adjustments that we need to make. All right, boy, it's taking its time converting to a smart layer. My goodness. Okay, you can tell it's a smart layer because it has a little down there. All right, we're gonna go here to filter, blur, radial blur. Okay. Now we have two different types of radial blur. There's a spin and a zoom. In this case, we want to do a spin. And the idea is that we want to find that southern point and spin it right around that. Okay. You can see we don't really get a preview of this one, unfortunately. So we're just having to guess. Okay, so let's just try, I don't know, 20. Sounds about right. And the hard part about this dang tool is that I can't really touch where I want it. I want it right there. And this is a square and my shot is a rectangle. So trying to figure out that exact spot is very difficult. Here, so I'll say okay, and we'll just see if we nail it. Chances are we will not nail it. Okay. I'm gonna have to zoom in to see, you can see we're not even close. It looks like I was too far to the left. Okay. So what I can do is, because this is a smart layer, I still have the radial blur. I can just double click this and I get it right back, and I can do a little adjustment. So I need to go a little bit right and a little bit down. I'll say okay. We'll see how this looks. Here we go. It's like gambling. It's like gambling with your star trails. Okay, that looks pretty good. It's hard to tell if I think I'm a little high and right. Okay, but we're getting closer. We're getting closer. Radial blur. Okay, so I'm going to pick this thing up and drop it down right like that. And it feels a little too much. Let me drop this down to maybe 16. Okay, I think it was blurring a little too much. But you can kind of see the sense of what we're going for here. Okay, whoa. Okay, I was going the wrong way, clearly. Okay, now I need to grab it and go up and to the right just a bit. All right, sort of an exercise in mild frustration. Bit of a game too. Oh, we're getting closer. Let's move it a little bit more. Grab it, move it. Adobe, if anyone from Adobe is watching this, can you fix this tool so I can actually click where I want the center of the zoom? That's not too much to ask. I can't be the only person that wants this. Although, actually, I don't even know, this is not really what this tool is for. That's the beauty of Photoshop, actually, is like trying out all these tools and then using them in wildly inappropriate ways, like this one. We're getting close now. All right, let's try it one more time. Now I think we need to go just a little bit left, a little bit down. By the way, I'm editing this. I'm back at my home in Queenstown, New Zealand now, and I can hear water dripping outside. It's a little bit of a rainstorm coming. I'm all cozy indoors. Okay, I think that's a little bit to the left. My goodness. Now, if you weren't doing a smart object, you would have to re-render this whole thing every time. So that's kind of the beauty of the smart object. Okay, let's see how this is. All right, so that's looking pretty good. Let's go ahead and zoom out here. Oh yeah. So what we have here on top is the nice blurry one. On the bottom, of course, it like super blurred out the cottages down there. So let's make a layer mask here. Pick a brush, and then we'll paint through to the bottom layer, to the smooth underside, so to speak. Okay, get that nice and stable. A little bit blurry is all right. I mean, no one's really gonna notice. It looks kind of cool because everyone will be looking up at that blurry part up there. So that looks pretty good. Not too bad. So let's combine those into one. Combine those layers into one. And let's go get that other version that we exported. Remember that thing? Where did it go? Hello. It was right here, and let's bring this into Photoshop here. Okay, so this is another layer. So I'm going to copy this whole thing, select all, copy, close it, paste it here on top. Let's go ahead and move it down to the bottom. We have the star traily one here, and then we'll paint through to, they're a little bit misaligned, so let's zoom in here, and I'm going to use the arrow keys to kind of line them up here as best I can. Get them pretty dark. Well, actually, I'm trying to get them as close as possible. There we go. There we go. Then I'll pick a brush and we'll paint through to the kind of this warmer layer underneath, where it's not quite so blown out or so ridiculous. Looking good. Good. Now, let's crop it, because I don't really like the cropping. Let's pull this over like this. Let's pull this down a little bit like this. Pull this up. There we go. Very, very nice. All right, this is looking very nice. I like it quite a bit. You can see we got rid of all the weirdness in there. Now that we've got it all combined into one photo, let's kind of go back into that raw situation and do a few final tweaks. So go here to Filter, Camera Raw Filter, go into the contrast, and we'll increase the contrast a little bit more. You can see what that does. We're going to increase the clarity, making that part look pretty nice again. Increase the vibrance a little bit. Very nice. Maybe even cool it off a little bit more. Awesome. Even a little bit more contrast. Oh yeah, beautiful. Beautiful. Good, 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 good. Okay, so let's look here. Okay, this is sort of the after. Let's go look at the before. Okay, so we basically started with this. Okay, that's right off the top of the roof. And then after doing these tweaks that we just worked on together, we end up with that, which I think looks way cooler. Awesome. So I've magically jumped forward in time because I looked at it a little bit more and I decided I didn't like it quite so much. So I made one more edit of it, and I want to show you how that one turned out. Let's go over here to iPhoto. iPhoto, by the way, is kind of one of my final resting spots for my photos. So there's the campfire one, and here's my other version of that Star Trail photo, which I like quite a bit better. All right, awesome. Well, I hope you enjoyed this, and I will see you around, maybe during the next episode. Thanks. I think a lot of these things you do as a kid or when you're young, they actually kind of rewire your brain in a unique way. And this is awesome because you want a uniquely wired brain, because it will make wonderful stuff come out of your photos.